So I've been avoiding talking about Monster Hunter 6 because I have so much Monster Hunter to discover. Forget the future. I've got the whole past to study. But I have to admit, I keep thinking about the next generation of Monster Hunter and what it could entail. And I think I'm finally ready. Now that Sunbreak's fully released, everything's out, I've still got content, but we don't have any more news. So let's talk about what I want to see in Monster Hunter 6. Welcome back, Classic Crew, to a speculation video. And today I'm not going to go over the usual things that you see in a lot of things like bring back laggy, bring back swimming, get rid of wire bugs. Like, of course, those things are at the top of our wish list of things we want to see come back and things we don't want to see return. Or the obvious add a new weapon to the line. I'm not going to add those because honestly, I don't feel very strongly against swimming. I don't have the best memories of swimming in 3U or even swimming in real life. The new weapon, while nice, I've only mastered barely one weapon, working on a second, and I've still got like another 14 to figure out how to move around and use in these games. So adding another weapon to that, not my biggest priority. So these are items, 6 items. I'm trying to think creatively of just like, what would be my guilty pleasure and what do I think would be really fun? Some of these are maybe like thinking outside the box too much and they're a little bit too crazy. And I think the last one I'm going to hold for today, you guys will either agree or strongly disagree with. So anyways, let's start with village building. This is something I love in all my games. It's been present in some of the Monster Hunter games to some degree, but never to the full effect that I have wanted to. There's something I love about starting a village off, gathering resources so that your village grows, you open new armories, you open new wings, you like repair things. So one thing I want to see is drop me in a village that has been destroyed by an elder dragon, and I am there to not only help fend off the elder dragon or fend off any future monster attacks, but I need to help these people rebuild. I don't know if that's part of like the Hunter Guild's pledge, but give me a side character that's, you know, part hunter, part builder that is all about helping rebuild this village. Let me go out and grind, I don't know, 20 Diablos so I can make a house with Diablo's horns. Wouldn't that be cool? I think it would be cool. Like if you could actually rebuild in custom ways, then you could actually visit maybe other people's villages. Now this is getting crazy. I don't know if we would want to do that, because if you visit other people's villages and let's say they only slay one type of monster and the whole village is made of that one monster part, that would be very cool. But technically speaking, it would be very weird. And in terms of just like immersion, it would be very weird that all the villages would be different. So I don't think we would see that happen. But some level of village building, they did it in 4U and World, but it wasn't as satisfying as I would have liked. For example, in World, when you're building out the farm, let me build out the whole village. Let my actions of my hunts reflect more strongly in the village. So that's number one. Number two, another, I know for a fact that this is very polarizing. The palamutes, nerf them. You can bring them back. I know that they're not going to take them away from the franchise, but please nerf them. And there's a lot of ways you can do this. Make them either only writable to the battle, or limit what you can do on the palamute. And I'm guilty of this. You know, I sharpen, I chug potions because the game lets me do that in Rise Sunbreak, but it's also very overpowering in the fight. It removes a lot of tension from the fight. And so just take it away, because if you put the option there, I'm going to use it. I think they did it very good in World where you got to actually ride the trail. I forgot what they were called, but you could ride a monster to the fight. Another thing is the palamute is supposed to represent a dog, man's best friend. So let us hunt with the dog where you know, you have to follow the dog because maybe the palamute is tracking the monster through sniffing for it. You know, make it a little bit more like the real world hunts. I think that could work well. And in fights, let the palamute help. But I really think if you just remove the riding element of it during the fights, or even remove the riding element completely, it could really be more balanced that way. Number 3, rewarding gather quest line. And I think this is my solution to one of the complaints I've shared, where I feel that there's a lot that has been lost in the gather quests. And on the flip side, the veterans have said, we have done this so many times over the last 20 years. I don't want to pick up another mushroom just to advance the quest line. So I hear you. So what if there was a dedicated quest line where you could actually gather mushrooms, herbs, and all that to either advance a story aspect of the game or maybe this village building aspect of the game. That way, veteran players can get into the game and they can go hunt right away. They don't have to go gather their mushrooms. They know what they're doing. They can go craft their potions and off they go hunting. So it doesn't eliminate that for the veterans, but you entice players to want to do these gather quests, to get more story, get more features, stuff like that. And I think that's a good way to balance the hunting and the gathering elements so that players can appreciate really both systems and then interweave them somehow. That one I would be really, really excited for. So that's number 3. Number 4, this one's a bit smaller, but bring back tracking, research, discovering the monster. I really, really love the research system of World where you had to like pick up all these like little bits of the monsters. You had to like collect the tracks, which would then unlock more information in your hunter book. I don't think they do that in Rise Sunbreak, if I remember correctly. And I'm not saying bring back paintballs because I really do prefer the world system over the paintballs. But man, I miss like you're wandering, you're searching for this monster, and then all of a sudden, boom, cute cutscene, you found it, and then let the monster, terrify you. I love that system so much better than the quest starts, you get a cutscene of the monster, and then you have to go find it. Like bring back that discovery element, that hunting aspect of the game of let me try to find where this monster is, and then oh my god, there it is, that's what I gotta kill, let's go. Like it just pumps you up, the pacing, it's perfect. Okay, now in the last 2 we're gonna get into a little bit of the crazy stuff. This one has been discussed in many other Monster Hunter 6 videos that I've seen, but open world opens up a lot of possibilities, but a lot of challenges. So I'm just going to focus more like on the possibilities of open world. If we are again dumped into this village that was destroyed and we have to kind of rebuild it and fend things off, to me an open world would be I have access to all the regions that I can just kind of go and this town lives in the middle or something, or I take an airship. I don't know. Somehow I can explore these regions and I can do things in those regions that change over time. So let's say, for example, there's too many Diabloses in the desert. I don't know. I could go and build maybe some defenses in the desert to help call the Diablos while I'm not there. And this would all be on top of the hunts, right? This is all kind of supplementary gameplay. But then if I spend too much time or I'm busy like in another area like the forest, eventually that fortification in the desert would be destroyed and I'd have to go back and fix it. So kind of this living world where the hunter is required to kind of go and check things out throughout the world. Now I know that's really different than a Monster Hunter game and maybe it's a little bit too complicated, but I'm trying to think like if you're going to do open world, it has to add another element than just removing load screens. It needs to be a living, breathing world. And maybe it's also making the hunt a little bit more intentional where you're given tips of a monster that likes sand, let's say. And so as a hunter, you're not just thrown into the desert, but you have to, put 2 and 2 together and figure out that you have to go to the desert to find a certain monster. You have to like do XYZ so that certain monster appears. I'm thinking a lot of Monster Hunter stories too, how you could kind of just explore this world and there were things going on. That kind of element of world exploration put in open world, but more of like a Monster Hunter world setting, I'm saying the word world a lot, I think would mesh very well, but it has to be done very carefully. And also I think it would be it could easily be done wrong, but it could also be done very well if thought about, what is the main reason. I also think you could go out into the open world and like put some bait to attract like more legendary monsters. Like how do you attract an Elder Dragon, for example, to a world? I think that you could play an open world element to that where you have to do XYZ to attract certain monsters to the region. And, so you're interacting with the environment around you. So if you're on board with my idea for that, let me know, open world, because that can mean so many things. Also, I think like just creating an encampment out in the wild so that you are living out there as long as you need to. One of the challenges I've thought of open world is the timer. Does the timer stay or does the timer go? Because the timer is kind of a critical element of the hunt, I would say. It adds a level of tension that I don't want them to remove. On the other hand, the timer is so generous nowadays with 50 minutes. A lot of players don't even see the end of that or see the tension of close to the end of 50, especially like in Rise Sunbreak. And so does the timer still have a place in Monster Hunter? I mean, that's a whole discussion in and of itself. I think it does. I think the timer needs to stay where if you are in an open world game and you encounter a monster, a timer should start or something. But thinking back, I think it's Wild Hearts gets rid of the timer, if I remember correctly. And finally, Every Monster Hunter game introduces a wild gimmick that is almost impossible to predict. So my 6th point is my take on what I would do as a wild gimmick. And I really think a lot of you are going to hate on this, but some of you might say it's cool. And that is the introduction of machines. And let's not get too crazy about what that means, but in the Monster Hunter world, we have seen hunters use ingenuity to build all sorts of things from like airships, subs. It is very much a real thing to create machinery to hunt monsters. Like these sand ships are equipped with weaponry to take on big monsters. And so what if the unique aspect was throughout the story, you're constantly building a massive machine, whether it's a predetermined one like a ship or it gives you the creativity to build whatever the heck you want. If you want to build a Gundam, go for it. And that craft is used to, maybe fight certain key moments or key monsters. But I'm thinking of, if you've ever played Assassin's Creed Black Flag, you have your own ship that you can customize and build. That one is a predetermined one where you're pretty much just adding and customizing a predetermined ship. So here in Monster Hunter 6, I'm saying maybe machinery plays a part where you can build different types of vehicles. Actually, I should have said vehicles instead of machinery. That's what I meant. Vehicles, not machinery. There's a lot of ways that you can integrate this so it's fair, so that you're not removing the human versus the monster experience. Like the ship can only be used maybe to initiate a fight with a monster, or it has a very limited threshold before the monster knocks you off the vehicle or the machine, and then you have to face it one-on-one. I wouldn't see it that different than in Rise Sunbreak, where you actually ride a monster and fight until you get knocked off the monster and then you can't get back on. I'm seeing the integration of vehicles in a similar way, and maybe that's, the excuse to not ride a palamute or something. You ride this vehicle, you get to unleash a little bit of damage on the monster, and then the monster knocks you off or like does something that makes the machine kind of useless for the rest of the fight. But I think having that machine aspect to it would really make for an interesting world, an interesting story, and it would really change the dynamic of Monster Hunter in a way. But again, it has to be done tastefully, because if you go too far into it, you get into crazy stuff where like monsters are being merged with machine parts. I know that there is a whole like conspiracy theory behind that kind of monster. I forgot what the name is. I'm not suggesting we do that, but just vehicles, things that already exist in this world. Let's lean more into it. Let's explore that system and that aspect of this civilization. And, maybe it all builds to you building this massive fortress that gets attacked by a Fatalis or something. So why not? Or a new Black Dragon. I think that there's a lot that could be done there. So those are my 6. Other things, I think the one thing I didn't mention is crossplay, because that's a given. I think we all want crossplay. And I didn't want to waste the spot saying, yes, we should all play together wherever we are. Like, that's just what gaming in 2023 should be. So let me know what your wish list items are for Monster Hunter 6, and I'm really excited to hear more news about this. I'm really hoping that we're going to hear something from the Tokyo Game Show. That's what I'm hearing might be the next drop, where we're going to get a teaser or something. So looking forward to covering that game on this channel and playing it when it eventually comes out. Looking forward to your thoughts, and until next time, keep it classy.